As I took my first step into the vast castle, instantly an unfamiliar smell wafted by me. Not unpleasant, but nothing I had ever smelled before. The next step I took, I saw people. People I had never seen before, not a person under 18 in sight. Worry started to settle in. What if there was no one I would be able to talk to? Then I began hearing languages like French, Arabic, surely other ones I couldn't comprehend, and my stomach dropped. I walked around in futile attempts to try to find somebody to talk to, each person in their foreign language more intimidating than the last. I started to panic. And so I made a plan. I couldn't look antisocial, so I would do what any sane and rational person would do given my situation. I would go hide in the corner. As I found a corner that I thought was suitable, and I began to sit down, the voice of God shot through my left ear. I turned to look at it, and I saw a man coming over, arms wide open, ready to embrace me in a hug. "Hello, my brother," he said. He walked towards me. He asked my name. "Ryan," I told him. He asked where I was from. "California." The questions kept coming. "Do you know anybody at the wedding? Do you like it here in Tunisia? Do you have any family here with you?" And suddenly, as he embraced me in a hug and I looked around, the faces seemed less unfamiliar. The languages seemed less unintelligible. Maybe I wouldn't be alone at the wedding. Last June, my family and I went to a wedding in Tunisia. His name was Ahmed. Yes. As you may be able to see, he was unique. He was the kind of person whose attention you wanted, and in that moment, I had it. He kept asking me questions, more and more, wanting to learn who I was, more than just who I was pretending to be for a wedding, but who I truly intended to be as a person, who I wanted to become. As the parties continued to go on and the wedding continued, I noticed that this was his demeanor with everybody. Whoever he was speaking to, he gave them a chance to share their story, let them be seen. And every time he would talk to me again, he had deeper questions, as if he had been contemplating what to ask me since the last time we had spoken. He wanted to understand the essence of who anybody truly was, and he had a gift for it. Within 10 minutes, he could pin down exactly who you were, who you wanted to be in life, in the least creepy way possible. He introduced me to many people, many friends, and the party started moving quite quickly. I was having a good time, and then everything screeched to an incredibly awkward halt. As usually happens in a wedding, there's a ceremony, and then there was a reception. Unfortunately, this was the case. After the wedding, there was a dinner, and after that, people went out to the courtyard to the sound of beautiful music. Worst case scenario. People started dancing. As my friends may attest, I don't like dancing. I don't think I'm very good at it. In fact, I think I'm a special sort of awful at it. And so, once again, I was faced with a dilemma. Option A, I could try to dance, inevitably trip over my own feet, fall into a pitcher of juice, and the juice would spill on the bride's wedding dress, forcing them to publicly stone me, never to return to Tunisia. Or, I could make the sensible decision once again to go hide in the corner. Once again, I made the sensible decision. And once again, I found a corner I thought was suitable, and I began to sit down. I watched people moving in precise, beautiful movements as if they'd been training their whole lives just for this moment. And then I started to calculate just how long I might have to wait until the dancing would be over and I could go home and be done with this. And as I landed on 3 hours, Ahmed looked over at me. He came over between his shifts of dancing with every girl at the party and asked me, "Why aren't you dancing?" "Not my thing," I told him. He heard what I really meant, which was, I'm scared that I'm going to make a fool of myself and look a little stupid up there. He pulled me up and said, "I'll teach you." He took me to the center of the courtyard, and then he ran away. I was bamboozled, befuddled, perplexed. I couldn't understand why he would possibly take me up there and then just run away. I stood for about 3 more minutes. I decided I would just go back to my corner. It wasn't worth it. And then he ran back out in traditional Tunisian robe, and he said, "This is what you'll dance in." 15 minutes of dancing lessons later, I didn't feel completely stupid trying to dance, which for me was a massive improvement. All because Ahmed, and the type of person he was, took 15 minutes out of his celebratory wonderful night and wasn't confident how to dance. Later that night, my mom and I found ourselves in the unfortunate circumstance of being in a foreign country at 3 a.m. with no ride home. Naturally, Ahmed was the one to step up. He offered us a ride home, and as we got in the car, he divulged that while he was perfect and wonderful and amazing, he also got out of cleaning duty by giving us a ride. He began to ask us questions, as he always did, different things, mostly directed towards my mom, and then my mom flipped it upon him. She asked him a question. "How did you start working at the castle?" Ahmed seemed a little bit surprised, but happy to answer. After he answered, I asked him a question. Once again, he seemed a little bit surprised, but he answered. And we continued to ask him questions. By maybe the 25th question, we arrived back to the Airbnb we were staying at, and we got out of the car. We hugged our goodbyes, we wouldn't be seeing each other again. And he said, "Thank you for your great kindness. You made a profound impact on my life," or something like that. And my mom and I, of course, exchanged him because he really had made an impact on us. We told him how much we appreciated him and all of that. And then, as we walked back into our Airbnb, my mom and I exchanged a look of a little bit of confusion, because we weren't the ones who welcomed him to a party of strangers. We hadn't taught him to dance. We hadn't given him a ride home. Why was he thankful for some great kindness we had given him? And that's when it dawned on us that Ahmed carried himself in such a way that his life was full of gratitude. He appreciated all of the little things. And it made me reflect on how Ahmed was different than me. And I had always thought of being kind and earnest and vulnerable as separate from being cool and likable and funny. I was wrong. It doesn't happen often, but even a broken clock strikes twice a day. Ahmed proved just how wrong I was. He was all of these things. He had something figured out that I didn't, and I admired that about him. He had combined these parts of himself, of myself, that I thought couldn't go together. And it forced me to self-reflect. Because despite how perfect and humble and wonderful I am, how could I be the best version of myself if I weren't trying to be all of these things? And so after my little self-reflection, I can confidently say that self-improvement is a never-ending journey, and begrudgingly I will admit that I'm far from perfect. But I do know that being kind and being earnest and being vulnerable can go together with being cool and being likable and being funny. Thank you.
One of the best speeches I've heard, and that was hilarious and completely correct about being cool, being funny, and I'm so glad that Ahmed took you on that journey with him. He seems like a great person, and I know you're going to grow up to be just like him.